Hello, everybody. I'm Jared Altick, and I'm here again with Kevin Hardy. And today I want to ask him about how to start a chaplain's program. Kevin is in charge of Midwest Chaplain Network, and he trains chaplains. He helped train me and does all kinds of in-person training and online training. And a lot of departments, first responder departments around the country don't have any kind of chaplain program in place already. So Kevin, how would someone start from scratch? How do you get the ball rolling if you see the need, but you don't know how to make it happen?
Well, the need has got to be made known from within the department. An officer or firefighter, paramedic, whatever, somebody within the department, chief, command staff, somebody's got to go, you know what, we could really use a chaplain program. We've got peer support, we've got CISM teams, we've got a psychologist or psychiatrist on, but man, we're just missing, we need a chaplain program. So it's got to come from within the department.
Okay.
Once that happens, then what I like to do in the programs that I've helped start is I like to go and chat with the chief and sit down with them and just say, here's what a chaplain program can bring you. Here are the benefits of having chaplains on board. Here are some drawbacks from having chaplains on board. And once the chief or the command staff or the city official, whoever it has to go through, says, yes, let's do this, then we can move forward with recruiting from the community.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
How do we find the right men and women to do this? I mean, ministers are already kind of an odd bunch, and I think chaplains are the same. I think chaplains, you know, there's got to be something a little bit off about you already if you want to be a chaplain, and so how do we find that unique individual, but then weed out the people who just really aren't called to do this? Do you have some insight on finding the right people?
Yes, absolutely. The best way I have found to do it is to basically blanket the community.
Okay.
So the way I've done it in the past is have the chief address a letter to every clergy member in town, every Christian denomination. If you've got other faith communities within your community, you address them and you send this letter and just said, we are interested in starting a chaplain program. We would love for you to come to an informational meeting and hear what it's all about. And if you're interested from there, then we'll move forward and do some training. And so it's in that informational meeting where you can really sense who is called to it and who isn't, because the ones that aren't, as soon as you mention doing a ride-along, going on a death notification, the possibility of being shot at, the things that can happen when you do, you know, when you're doing what you do, a lot of them go, whoa, no way, you know, and they just, that's it, they're done. And so,
well, I think there's some that some volunteers for chaplaincy that back out when they find out that they're not likely to get paid anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. They find out, this doesn't come with a salary.
Yeah. And I don't get a badge. What do you mean I don't get a badge? You know, that's the other one. Yeah.
It almost never comes with a salary or any of that kind of, that's really rare.
It is. And so, you know, and again, there's also I'm too busy. I've got too much going with my ministry and I don't have time. Those type of things. And you just have to trust that the Lord is going to weed out those that he doesn't want in there. And that's why he gives us discernment. And we can really tell. Those that have been in chaplaincy for a number of years really can sense who should be doing it and who shouldn't. And what's the heart motive behind it? Is it really to serve the officer or the firefighter or paramedic? Or is it to get that badge and get that ID card? And
or to have a little bit of that glory, you know, cast off onto them.
Exactly.
I've always I tell police officers, I've never wanted to be a police officer. I don't want to be one now. I want to be a chaplain. I want to be a minister. I have zero interest in being a police officer. And for me, I think for my personality, I need to have a really healthy distinction that those are police officers. I'm a chaplain. I might be in the police car. I might be on the crime scene, but I'm not a detective. I'm not here to solve things. I'm not Sherlock Holmes
Right.
or anything else. I have a very clear, distinct role here, and I need to be working toward those purposes, not toward solving the crime or protecting the scene or whatever I think I'm shooting the bad guys or whatever I might imagine from a Hollywood movie. And having that distinction, I think, is pretty important. You want to find people who can make that distinction, where they understand that for themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because there will be times on scene when someone's going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, officer,
Yeah.
this and this and this is going on over here," and you have to go, "Hang on, I'm not an officer.
Yeah.
I'm a chaplain. I'm here
Yeah.
as a chaplain."
Yeah.
And even then, you got to go. Though a lot of people I've talked to over the years go, "What's that?
Yeah, exactly.
What's a chaplain?" And I have to use my MASH reference. Father Mulcahy on MASH?
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it is. It's that distinction that we're here, and we're here to encourage and help our officer, whoever we're riding with at the time, but we're not part of that department. We can't make those decisions. I stay behind the yellow tape. I don't go in unless I'm escorted. But
we have to sign in. We have to be logged.
I just stay behind it, and that gives me an opportunity to mingle, if you will, with the community. And that's, again, when you can explain to someone, why aren't they moving faster? Why is it taking so long? How come so many of them are standing around? And all those questions that people who don't understand the process. And if you can be out there and just say, listen, let me tell you why this is kind of going so slow right now, and you can explain it to them, then they understand, and it de-escalates things. And so being able to help do that is important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the chief or the city official, whoever it may be, sends out a letter, to as wide a group as possible, trying to understand the purpose of chaplaincy and trying to draw interest. Where does it go from there?
Well, once that letter goes out and those that are interested respond, you set up a date for an information meeting, basically, and Midwest Chaplain Network, we'll just use my organization, we'll come in and we'll explain to these pastors and whomever that this is what we do, this is what chaplaincy is, this is what you will entail and what you will see, and it's a volunteer. If you bring that up and you just kind of lay it all out, this is really what it's all about. It's about serving. It's about being present. It's about, I like calling it, being heaven on hell's doorstep, or being hope on the worst possible day of somebody's life.
Yeah.
And you put it out there, and then those that are interested will sign up, and we'll set up a training day. And then we'll come in, do the official certification training. It's a one-day training that I do, full day. And you get the very foundational aspects of chaplaincy, things you need to know to be a first response chaplain. And so we do that in a full day of training. And once that happens, once they're certified, then they go to their departments and assume their role as a chaplain, however they would like that to look.
Can you explain the importance of the training? Because a lot of these ministers already have pastoral experience. Okay, and they understand how churches work, or parachurch ministries, wherever they're involved. They understand how that works fairly well. They're professionals, but if they're going to be operating within the sphere of the police department or the fire department, what does that training do, and why is that important? Not just for them, but also for the city officials. And I mean, why does that matter that the chaplain goes through training?
Well, it's important because the chaplain, one, can be held responsible for their actions.
Yeah.
And how society is, people will sue for any reason. And you can actually get sued for malpractice as a chaplain. So you want to know what to do on a crime scene. You want to know what to do on a death notification. You want to know what to do at a suicide, or you want to know what to do on a ride-along, those type of things. So we train in those areas, so that when you step into that first response chaplain role, you know that it's a different thing than pastoring. The biggest difference, in my opinion, is that chaplains deal with the crisis situation. They engage as quickly as possible that person's long-term spiritual care. So we're on scene and we're there to do spiritual care, but we're there to get them through a crisis moment And what we want to do is involve their support system as quickly as possible.
Yeah, pass them off to those people who are going to be in their life.
To that long-term, their pastor, their friends, family members, somebody that will be with them day after day after day. Because once we're off scene, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
And they may never see us again. There are instances where it's not a bad idea to follow up, especially if someone does not have a church support system. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of families out there that don't. And in the midst of a crisis, you go in and say, do you have a pastor? No, we don't go to church anywhere. That kind of makes a little light bulb go off to come back in a day or two and just check on them, see how they're doing.
Yeah.
If they don't have a strong family support system or friends or that type of thing. So the biggest difference with being a chaplain versus being a pastor is that quick response. It's almost like being a first responder.
Yeah.
And once we get things settled down on scene, we turn that care over. Just like taking somebody to a hospital.
Yeah.
You turn them over
Spiritually speaking, you're the paramedic, not the doctor.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's very rare that you'd be both. That just doesn't happen very often. Maybe in a smaller community, but certainly in a larger city, you may literally never see that person again.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And it helps the police chief, the mayor, the whoever to know that these chaplains have been trained. I mean, that's an important thing because they go through training. They have to take classes. They have to do professional development. They have to do these things also. I think that helps to validate the chaplain to not just be a volunteer showing up of their own accord.
It's a credibility thing with the department. It lends to credibility because you've had specific training for chaplaincy. And I recommend not only the foundational type training that we do, but there are so many organizations out there that offer training and offer courses and offer articles and books and those kind of, get all those things, get on every mailing list you can get, and get as much training as you can get because it changes day by day by day. Things shift and things change. And one minute it's PCP, people are hitting that real hard, and all of a sudden it's suicide things, and then all of a sudden it's something different, and so you've got to be up on all of that. And the best way to do that is to just get that initial foundational training and then take the motivation and the time and the professionalism to keep after it and to keep studying.
Okay, so this seems like a fairly straightforward process, especially if someone partners with a group like yours to kind of help them and provide the training. Mm-hmm. But what kind of obstacles are they going to run into? Because I can't imagine that this just works because there's so many departments around the country that have no chaplains.
Right.
And so chaplains aren't a new idea. They've been around for hundreds of years. So why don't these departments have chaplains? There must be some kind of obstacles that get in the way.
Well, there are. And I think what we're seeing now primarily is the younger men and women that are coming on board as first responders have not grown up in the church.
Yeah, they're unchurched.
They're unchurched.
Yeah.
And so to them, who cares? Because I've never had that, so I don't miss it.
Right.
When it comes to the higher levels, thinking about things, their thought process sometimes can be, well, if we bring on these chaplains, are they going to Bible thump us? Are they going to be preaching at us? Are they going to evangelize, proselytize? Are they going to try to convert us? And those questions always come up. Why are you really here?
Right.
And are you here to change my officers and try to recruit them to your church or your program? And that's a big one that you have to deal with. And when you can assure the chief that, Chief, listen, the only reason we're coming in is to be able to help, to encourage, and do whatever we can to ensure that your men and women are doing well and doing okay. And if that's serving them meals or helping them wash cars or the rigs or whatever, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
When the door opens, somebody asks us a question about spiritual things, we'll answer them. But we're not going to be here to pound them.
No, after day. My purpose. I walk into the police station. My purpose is officer wellness.
Right.
That's what I'm there for. Now, I can be used to help with victim services in Kansas City, Kansas. That's where we're under that umbrella. Mm-hmm. And so if we get paged out, usually we're dealing with citizens under the victim services auspices. But But when I'm interacting with police officers, it's officer wellness. I'm just there. Can I help? Can I counsel? Can I guide? Can I just befriend somebody, to help in that regard? And
Right.
and if somebody's skeptical of, why is this chaplain showing up? And especially if maybe they went through their formative years in first responding. When they were a young officer, a young firefighter, they never had a chaplain.
Right.
And so why do these young guys need chaplains? Well, they may need to kind of be brought on board and see that we're not a threat.
It's
that kind of thing.
it's the seasoned officers and firefighters and paramedics that will oftentimes go, just deal with it. Just shove it down. Just push it down. You're going to be okay.
Right.
Get over it. You don't need a chaplain. So,
which is a fan. I'm so amazed by it because so many of those officers, they and their peers, the ones who have long left, the police department, but they've gone through 2 or 3 marriages. There's all kinds of PTSD and whatever else, and they're like, "Well, we'll just do what we did. We're fine." No, you're not fine. Most of you are not fine.
Exactly.
I should say most, but certainly there are some that
everybody's
that have really
been
struggled.
traumatized.
Yeah,
everybody struggles.
Yeah.
So, and that's true. I think another issue that pops up from time to time, and it depends on the community. It depends on how big the community you're dealing with. But is one of the questions that pops up. Well, if we're going to have chaplains, are you including everybody in the community? I mean, in other words, you guys are a Christian organization. What about if we bring in a mom on board? What about if we bring on a rabbi or a Buddhist? I've worked in departments where we've had various faith individuals, and we can work well side by side because we reflect the community. I don't have an issue doing that.
Right.
So that's sometimes an obstacle because the chief or the command staff or the city official may just go, you know what? If you can't guarantee me that you're going to have everybody represented, then we're not going to do this. And so, again, that's why you have the chief address everybody in the community in that opening letter saying,
Right.
hey, we're going to start a program.
Right.
Every denomination, every faith group gets that letter. And if they don't respond or if they say no, then you've covered that base of we offered and you didn't take it. And so
and there may be a bit of an impasse there simply because the political desire to have every single person represented perfectly is not very practical. It's not very achievable.
Right.
And so if you're going to have, every time you have a Jewish victim, you need a rabbi. There's not enough rabbis to go around to have that staff 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And so at some point, you're going to have a chaplain come in that is not an exact match for every victim, because in many cases you have lots of victims.
Sure.
And lots of officers and lots of firefighters of different stripes. It's not possible to cover everybody all the time already. So if that's your standard, it's like, well, we aren't just wanting some representation, but we want like an absolute one-to-one. That's not doable. And I feel like that might just hide, that might be kind of the red herring for, well, we just are a little leery of chaplains in the first place.
Yeah.
In which case, I think some education can help. Let me tell you what a chaplain's like. Let Kevin come in and tell you what a chaplain's like.
Exactly.
And that
Yes.
might help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably the last issue that I can think of would be a liability issue or a safety issue. When you volunteer as a chaplain, a first response chaplain, and you do a ride along with an officer, their focus is, I'm coming in on my shift to protect and serve and do everything I can do on every call I go on and go home at the end of my shift. I want to be safe and I want to go home. So I'm worried about my own safety. And now I got this chaplain sitting in the front seat with me. I've got to worry about his or her safety as well.
Yeah.
And then what if something goes south? I've been on departments where it's like, hey, pop the lock, take the shotgun and go for it,
Right.
And you kind of go, what, or here, we're going to do firearms training. You're going to learn every weapon we use so that if some things go south, defend yourself and defend our officer, It's like,
and as awesome as that is, that's also probably pretty rare.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess, again, thinking about liability and whatever, they're
Exactly.
they're just seeing this chaplain as as
a civilian doing a ride along.
Yeah,
That's most often the view that a first responder will take. This is just somebody from the community riding in my car, and now they're a liability because I've got to worry about their safety. I can't do car chases because I got a civilian in the car. It just comes down to a whole lot of things, and it's we don't want to be that, but that's part of being a chaplain is you really do have to struggle.
I think you learn as a chaplain to how to step out of the way, how to not be clumsy and in the way. I think that's important. I mean, when I do a ride along, which with COVID we haven't done a lot of those, but I almost always ask the officer, okay, show me the first aid kit. Show me, what individual first aid kit do you carry on your person? Let me demonstrate from the first moment before we even sit down in the car that I'm willing to help in a useful way. I don't want to be in the way. And as soon as we get in the car, I'll ask, okay, now, if you tell me to get out of the car or to stay in the car, I will do it without hesitation.
Exactly.
But please say, when you jump out, say, come with me or stay here so I know what to do, and I will do that. I'll follow to the letter.
Exactly. If I'm riding with someone I've never ridden with before, the first words out of my mouth is, "This is your office.
Yes.
You're in charge.
Yep.
You tell me what you want me to do, what you don't want me to do, how I can help you, and we'll be good." You know? And so it works.
Okay. Can you give me some examples of places where you've helped?
Sure. I'm on the Missouri side of things, and so they've been primarily in Missouri. I think the first one that we did was Raymore, Missouri. The chief expressed a concern and a want for a chaplain program, so we went down, did the letter, did the blanket. We ended up with 12 chaplains starting out.
Oh, wow.
And so they've got a well-established program now. From there, I was contacted by Platte City, Missouri, and we went up there and got theirs going. Again, same thing, letter went out. It works. That system just works. Sedalia, police department contacted me from Sedalia, Missouri, and we drove down, did their training. From there, they had kind of recruited and knew the pastors they wanted in particular to get started with the program. So they had already kind of handpicked the ones they wanted. We went in and trained them, got them certified, and they've been running strong since then. Grandview, Missouri, that's where I've been the chaplain the longest. That program started back in 07, 08, and we're running strong there. We're still going strong. In fact, we've expanded over to the fire department as well, and we continue to grow. We've got 14 chaplains in Grandview, and those are primarily the ones that I've helped start.
And each of these, were these first responder in general? Was it specifically fire, specifically police?
These were specifically police.
Okay.
In Grandview, like I said, we've expanded over at the request of the fire department to actually have chaplains within the fire department. So we've done that. We're open, obviously, to training both.
Right.
The foundations are the same.
And your personal background is in EMS and that kind of thing, right?
Right. My background was a 20-year medic and ran volunteer fire when I was younger and could get up the ladder.
Okay. And then you also have experience. I mean, these are medium to smaller size cities, but you also have experience in a very large city.
I did. I was actually recruited by Kansas City, Missouri Police Department to come in and help them build up their program. Okay. When I came on board, they had 3 or 4 chaplains, and the activity level was pretty much academy graduations, funerals, police commissioner meetings,
all the ceremonial,
all
functions.
The invitational stuff, which is that's good. That stuff needs to be covered.
Right.
And so I was asked to come in and help build up the program like we had in Grandview. And so we started to recruit chaplains and bring them on board. And we went from 3 or 4 chaplains to 16 now, and they do ride-alongs, they're doing roll calls, they're involved in, when things were a little hectic last year with the riots and those types of things. Chaplains were down in the midst of the recovery area, ministering to the officers and police and fire and all that.
What's the difference in size in those departments?
I'll go with Grandview. I know that one of the best. They run about 50 officers.
Okay.
KCPD runs about 1,300.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, excellent. So quite a wide diversity of different types of departments, and your experience there. I mean, you had some good success in
Yes.
in all different types of settings, and so
Absolutely.
that's fantastic.
It's been, and the foundations are the same. That's why it doesn't matter how big the department is.
Right.
Those foundational trainings and additional trainings on top of that are pretty much, no matter how big or small your department, you need to have those things so that your chaplains will be successful in what they do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And if people want more information, they're like, okay, you've convinced me. I'm sure we can start one up in my county or my city. How's the best way to contact you, Kevin?
The best opportunity would be to go to the website,
Okay.
mwcn.online, or they could email me, kevin@mwcn.online.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kevin. We really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks for having me.